Hello everyone, today we're here with an assembly video for our FM-54 Flail Mower, so let's get started. So the first step in the process is to remove all the components out of the crate needed for assembly. So here mounted on the front you'll have your suspension weldment. In the back here you'll have your PTO shaft and gear oil. And in the manual tube you'll find your manual and the hardware. All of these components are held in with zip ties so you can easily cut with wire cutters. All right, so now we got all the components out. The next step is to remove the crate. That can be done by removing the 2 bolts in each upright and a single bolt in each center support. Those are 16 millimeter. All right, so we got all the hardware that holds the crate together. So it's time to get it off. You might need a hand for this. Got a buddy here, he's gonna help me out. This way. Now that the upper part of the crate is removed, we need to unbolt the flail mower from the base. All of our flail mowers have 1 bolt through each skid shoe, which is going to be 13 millimeter to get it off. Here's the bolt you'll need to remove to get the flail mower off the bottom of the crate, and there'll be one on the other side. Now that we got all the components out, the crate unbolted, we got the flail mower unbolted off the base, it's time to start assembly. We're now going to bolt on this suspension weldment. In order to do that, we want to loosen these 4 bolts on each bracket the suspension weldment bolts to. These brackets are slotted. You do not need to take the bolts out all the way. There is a weld nut on the bottom, so we just need to loosen these 4 bolts and slide these out as far as possible to make the width for the suspension weldment. You'll need 16 millimeter to loosen these bolts. Now that we have the brackets loosened up, we can install the suspension weldment. The bolts for the suspension weldment were located in the manual tube holder. There's 4 bolts in total, 8 washers, 1 washer on each side, and 4 nuts. You'll need an 18 and 19 millimeter to install this. We got the suspension weldment all installed. Bolts are tight. We can go ahead and tighten these bracket bolts back up now. As mentioned earlier, all WoodMaxx flail mowers come with 1 quart of gear oil. Now's the time you would fill the gearbox. On the FM-54, the fill plug is right here. This gearbox takes 16 ounces or half a quart of gear oil. Now would be the time where you would attach your tractor to the flail mower and get some measurements for sizing your PTO shaft. We're not going to cover cutting PTO shafts in this video. Check out our YouTube channel for a video on that. But we are going to show you attaching the slip clutch to the flail mower itself. To attach the slip clutch to the flail mower, the first step is to remove the PTO shroud from the base plate. There are 2 bolts on each side of the shield. You do not need to fully remove these. The shield is slotted, so you just need to loosen the bolts and the shield will come off. Now that the bolts are loose, you just simply lift up on the shield and go towards the tractor and it'll pop right off for you. For attaching the PTO shaft, there's 2 bolts you'll have to remove in order to slide it on the input shaft of the gearbox. Go ahead and loosen these bolts, set them to the side for right now. Next step, remove the cover for the input shaft. You can go ahead and slide the PTO shaft on. A little tip for you here, put the holes facing up towards you. It'll make it easier to put the bolts in after the fact. When sliding the PTO shaft onto the input shaft, you want to take note to the detent here. Once you get the 2 holes in the PTO shaft lined up with the detent on the input shaft, now is where you would insert your bolts and go ahead and tighten those up. You will need an 18 and 19 millimeter to do that. And then you would go ahead and reinstall your shield over the slip clutch. For the sake of the video right now, we're not going to do that just to save some time. So we got the mower hooked up to the tractor now. We're going to adjust the cutting height. Skid shoe and rear roller is what dictates the cutting height. The lower the rear roller, the higher the cutting height. The higher the rear roller, the lower the cutting height. Skid shoes go accordingly with that. So we're going to show you how to make those adjustments now. So to start, we're going to move the skid shoes by taking out these 2 bolts here. You'll need 16 millimeter for that. So we're going to set this to the max cutting height, which is the top hole through the hole on the mower body. Now we can change the other side. We got both skid shoes lowered now, so now we're going to lower the rear roller. So for the roller adjustment, you will need to remove this bolt here and the one on the other side. And then you have this forward bolt here. This is your pivot point for the rear roller. You may need to just loosen this in order to get the roller to come down. Some final thoughts here on flail mower operation. You can see we got it all set up on the tractor. You can see the front of the mower is slightly up compared to the back. That's the way it's supposed to run. The skid shoe hardly touches the ground, if any, and all your weight is run on the rear roller. Another point I'd like to show is positioning of the top link. On the suspension weldments on the flail mowers, this is slotted for the mower to pivot back and forth on slightly uneven terrain. When you set this machine down, when you're setting it first up on level ground, you want this pin to be right in the center of that slot. So that way when you are mowing and you do hit that little bit of uneven terrain, the mower can tilt slightly back and forth. This concludes our FM-54 assembly video. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us at 855-966-3629. We are in the office from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And check out our YouTube channel for more instructional videos.